this is a very grumpy looking melon, and today I thought I would talk to you about my riding journey, all the horses that I owe a lot to in my life, as well as all the ponies I have at the moment. Hey, you good boy Melon, you come say hi to Ace. We also have Ace over here. Hi baby girl, you come say hi too. Okay. So I will just explain a little bit about my horses and we'll go from there. So this is the first photo I could find of me on a donkey at our local donkey park. But I've always loved anything to do with horses, anything horsey shaped. I was there, I was on it, I wanted it, it was mine. When I was 7, I first started riding lessons. So this is Peggy, the pony I learnt to ride on. So she was a really, really good girl for me. And for about 6 months, I had private riding lessons on Peggy. So there's lots of photos of baby me, including a very embarrassing one here of me in my first lot of riding gear. After I'd been riding about 6 months, I was considered good enough to join the Saturday Club, where I rode lots of different ponies. So many different ponies. You'll see some photos of some of the really important ones. So this is Layson. I did a lot of mini show jumping competitions on her, and her again, she was a really, really, really good girl, and I owe a lot to her. My first young horse here, Candra, she was a 4-year-old when I started riding her. And then my first pony that I'd really done any kind of decent stuff on, so this was Jack. Also Finley here, biggest horses I rode there, he was about 18 too, and then my first real love of the horse world, which was Nipper here. So Garvey here was the next one, who was my first real experience with schooling, and then Tom here as well, he was such a cool little pony. So now we're getting on to my first pony here, so this is Shara. So Shara is a 12-hand Dartmoor Hill pony from the Mare and Foal Sanctuary, which is a charity here in the UK. So she taught me so much. She was really green when I got her. I wasn't really experienced enough, but we did so much together and really loved her. So did quite a lot of jumping, fun rides, all sorts of things like that. And, you know, she was such a good girl. However, she was obviously quite small, being only 12 hands, and I did, unfortunately, outgrow it. And I'll ignore the dates on this. This is just old camera stuff. Now, in stepped Akia. So Akia came from my riding school. She was bought by them, but wasn't really a riding school pony. She didn't enjoy being ridden by lots of people, but I loved her. She was challenging and very young at the time, but I fell in love with her and I took her home when I outgrew Shara. So we've got some really embarrassingly old videoing clips here of me riding her, which for some reason are really poor quality and flash and green. So we're just going to ignore that part of it and pretend they're not. However, you know, you can see some really rough riding from me, some really green behaviour from her. But yeah, just kind of where we were at the time, and a lot of her trying to take off after jumps. So I was also really lucky in this time to ride some other ponies. So this is little Misty, who I rode for her owners while she was being naughty with the kids. Awesome little pony, probably most talented pony I've ever ridden, wish she was a bit bigger. This is Mario as well, who I also did some work with. These were two probably the most. But yeah, so this was how it went till I was 18, and I went off to uni. Akia went back, and I thought that would be it. However, my riding school contacted me at the end of my first year just to inform me that they were going to sell Akia because she still wasn't really working out. So I made it work and I bought her, and my mum looked after her for the last 2 years I was at uni. I then came back and started working at the riding school, which was in the middle of Bonmore Moor. So we had so much hacking, local cross-country course nearby, sand school, and we did so much together over the next 4 or 5 years that I was there, really. So we had an amazing time, as you can see. So much fun together. She turned into such an amazing pony. She was ridden by some of the kids, some of the more experienced kids while we were there as well. But yeah, just turned out to be such a little superstar pony. So yeah, just carrying on there. So much jumping competitions, hunter trials, all sorts of fun together, and it was amazing. Now, unfortunately, the riding school closed in 2018, so I brought Akia back closer to my home, and this is where I started to get a bit more into clicker training with her. So we did some liberty work and things like that, and you know, she was just such a good girl. And then kind of late 2019, I was looking for my own land, and we managed to buy some. And this is the view from it. We're so lucky. So I bought land, and that involved another pony. So that was obviously Leo. So Leo came into my life then. He was bought as a companion for Ikea, but with the idea that he'd be a bit of a project for me. So he came. He had been backed, but not been ridden for a few years. He was exceptionally overweight, as you can see, and that required a lot of time and effort on my part. As he'd been out of work for a while, I rebacked him with the idea he would become an event pony for me. However, it soon became apparent that wasn't going to work. He was really scared of poles and he loved hacking. He loved them all and rides. So I have now put him out on loan to a home in Dartmoor because I just couldn't provide him the hacking he needed. I see him all the time. He is super happy there and it's so great to see him doing so well. So this little girl, Plum, came off the moors in 2020. I bought her at about 5.5 months old, and she was totally unhandled. My first experience with something completely feral. So she was a really good girl, and I spent all winter and spring working on her, getting her confidence up, and really teaching her that humans were good and humans did good things. So then that summer I started to sort of semi-look for another youngster for her. So enter Melon, who the channel is named after. So he is so dark in these early pictures, but he was a yearling when I got him from a local charity. This is in the October, and he's always been such a good boy. He, got on really well with the herd from kind of day one, which is what I wanted. And yeah, such a good boy. So my plan was this was going to be like my forever herd. However, it didn't work out that way. Plum became really, really unwell in the November of 2021, and I unfortunately had to have to put to sleep after a week being hospitalised. So I always thought I wouldn't get another one. However, I saw this advert on Facebook and little Ace came into my life kind of quite quickly after Plum was put to sleep. So these are all very early photos of Ace. She was again a youngster off Bodmin Moor, totally feral when I got her, hence the field safe head collar on. But she turned out to be even easier than Plum was. Very quickly came round. Very quickly decided people were a good thing. She's so little in these pictures. I keep forgetting how little she was. She was being led out on the road quite early on in high vis. And her and Melon bonded really, really well, really, really quickly, which is all I wanted from them. So over the next few summers, Melon and Ace both went out in hand showing and both did really, really well. Melon in cob classes and Ace in various young stock classes. Both of them over the years qualified for the Southwest Pony Association Championships, which were held at the David Broom Event Centre. Both ponies were placed in pretty much every single class they ever went in, and so they all had these stay away shows and they all came home covered in rosettes, and I couldn't ask any more from either of them. So I like to get my young horses out in hand. They just see the world. This is Ace at the SWPA Championships, and along with all her rosettes that she won there. But yeah, it's really, really good for the youngsters to get out and about. So Melon was backed in 2024 as a 4-year-old and did some little teeny tiny jumps and things like that. He did a little bit of everything. He also went out and saw his first little go at cross country, popped some awesome stuff and things like that. Had to go at some ridden showing, so this is him doing a little bit of working hunter stuff, only really teeny tiny stuff, just enough to get him really confident and just so I knew what he was going to be like out and about. But as you can see, he took everything in his stride, as he always does and continues to do so today. So I wasn't looking for another pony. However, this little pony fell into my life. So this is Kit Kat. She is from the same charity that Melon came from, and I just fell in love with her. So she was very nervous. She's a Dartmoor Hill pony, but she was very nervous when I got her, but she came round and did a little bit of showing in that summer of 2024, and really came out of her shell. Lovely Christmas photo I sent to the charity of Melon and Kit Kat. And then we spent the winter hacking out. I rode Melon and led Ace and Kit Kat off Melon because he's such a good boy, such a superstar, and that was just great. Ace was also backed over the winter as a rising 4-year-old, and she hacked out. So in April of 2025, Melon did his first one-day event. So he had a really good dressage for, for a 5-year-old. We had 33 dressage, and then we had a double clear show jumping and cross country. It was only 65, so it wasn't exactly very big, but I was just so pleased and so happy with how he went. He's also had a really good summer out competing this year in working hunters. Again, always being placed, always doing really well. And I've put in so much time and effort into his schooling and his jumping, and we've had some really lovely comments. He even won his first ever reserve champion sash earlier this year. Ace also went out and about, so she's done a little bit of cross-country schooling. She's not done as much as Melon did, just because she is much greener, both physically and mentally, but they both went out cross-country schooling. Melon showing how awesome he is through the owl hole, doing some of the 90 fences here. All in all, just being a superstar. This was his first time somewhere a bit different, doing some different fences, and again, he jumped everything first time, no questions, even with some very dodgy riding from me at times, and again a third cross-country course that we went to where he has just absolutely flown all summer long and been an absolute superstar. So Melon's been out on loads of moorland rides as well, so this is me and my friend climbing to the top of Cheese Ring, which not many ponies will do, and Kit Kat has started a little bit of long reining this summer to prepare her for her future career in driving. And so bringing us up to present day, Melon recently went to a camp up at Pontypool, and he has been such a good boy. Like, for a 5-year-old, I could not ask for any more. He jumped so well, jumping so many of the Cotswold Cup 80 fences. So there you go, guys. That is all my current ponies, all the ponies I owe a lot to in my life, and just so you're all up to date with who we are. So yeah, we'll thank you for watching the video, and it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Ace.